How do you pronounce Reviarch? This comes from my opponent in the Reviarch video, who later sent me the card Vesperarch. What is your favorite species of... Okay, skipping that. What made you want to revisit Cube after so many years? I want to say that it's James telling me about teaching a friend to play Magic, but honestly, probably having a baby, that needs some explanation. So I spend like the first hour of every day just cleaning stuff, and I wanted to give my brain something to do to like get through the monotony of just scrubbing bottles, and having a kid kind of forces you into this very productive rhythm. So when I have a bit of free time now, I'm kind of like trained to continue being productive, and to me it feels better to spend that time and have like a video or an article or something to show for it, rather than just like 10 more losses in Apex. What is your favorite type of chocolate? I don't really like sweets in general, but I love this one chocolate bar, which is like the Ben & Jerry's of chocolate. It has pretzel in it. I don't even know if it's in any other countries, but if you ever visit Belgium, what is an archetype you've wanted to make work but have never been able to? I've tried a lot of configurations of blue aristocrats, blue-black zombies. Honestly, the card that worked best was a custom Cathari Screecher with zombie subtype and 3 power just like scribbled on there with a pen. What is the worst card you've ever cubed with? Returned Phalanx. What is a card you want to play but can't for power level reasons? I love the card Treasure Hunt. I always want to live the dream of setting up the top of your library with, say, Brainstorm and then drawing 3 or 4. But it turns out using a draw spell to enable a draw spell isn't that powerful, but I do love it. I finally cut it, but I'll probably slip it back in the list when nobody's looking. What is your least favorite Cube article you've written? I was looking through my archive and I found this. It's Hans Cube Review Part 1, and there's no Part 2. Prior to COVID, how have you been able to get 8 people to show up to a draft? We had a Facebook group with like 50 people, and probably the most useful thing is that I had a schedule. So I think it was like every other Tuesday we would run a cube draft at the local shop. And what you learn is, 1, people love to flake. So we ran our cube nights in a board game cafe, and there'd always be random Magic players just kind of around, ready to fill in. 2 is to always be flexible. I always kept like a pouch of, say, 90 cube cards for if we had more, or if someone showed up late, we could give them a sealed pool that they could then play against the people who drafted. When it's possible again, just show up to your local drafts and bring your cube and let people know, hey, I'm running a cube draft after this is over, and people will join. People love free Magic. What is your favorite retail limited set? I kind of love terrible draft sets because they give you easy lessons to learn. My favorite is Scars of Mirrodin, because you can diagram it so easily. So you have like Metalcraft and charge counters over here, and over here you have the poison stuff. And this is like the poster child for parasitic archetype design. And even there you see that they made this like bridge between them of proliferate, trying to connect the different parts of the design. You've been involved with competitive Melee, Halo, MLG, and other things over the years. What can we learn from this to bring to Magic? I started writing for MLG back in 2006, and there was Halo 2 and Melee. And the Halo crowd kind of followed the new releases over time, so the Halo 2 scene became the Halo 3 scene, became the Halo 4 scene, and there's Halo Reach in there somewhere. And the Melee players just stuck with Melee because they loved it. And the competitive Halo scene is like a shell of what it used to be. It used to like sell out event centers, and now it struggles to find an audience at all. And I remember there was a post on the Team Covenant forums about why aren't the developers doing more to kind of promote competitive Halo. And one of the developers came along and had like a ton of YouTube statistics, and more or less he was calling them out for being lazy because the Halo players, almost all of them, were doing basically nothing to promote their own brand. Except for one person who you may know as Ninja. And then on the Melee side of things, these people just love their game so much, even though everyone else kind of shits on them, at least they did for a long time. And Melee arguably should have died, like, a lot of times throughout its history. Back at EVO, I think 2013, there was a donation drive that the organizers held where the game that raised the most money for charity would get the final spot in EVO. Now, the fighting game community hates Melee, I think is fair to say. They mock it openly. They don't really consider it to be a fighting game at all. And Melee was like on the verge of death at this point in time. And there was a guy named Scar, it's the People's Champ emoji on Twitch, who organized a campaign, and Melee got in. And there was a Melee documentary which you can watch on YouTube, kind of all this grassroots stuff that pushed the game kind of into the limelight despite nobody else wanting it there, and not even Nintendo wanting it there. Like, Nintendo tried to shut down Melee's EVO stream, and then they'll trot out the professional Melee personalities to like promote Smash Ultimate and then shut down their tournaments again. Later on, Scar would co-found a YouTube series called The Reebs, and the episodes were edited by a guy named Ludwig. And you might have seen in the news lately that Ludwig has recently become the #1 Twitch streamer of all time. I think Melee is an example of the value of sticking to what you believe. If there's game design, cube design, whatever that you love, it doesn't matter if the developer acknowledges it. It doesn't matter if Wizards never runs a Riptide style cube as a featured cube on MTGO. Just do your thing, follow what you love, and you never know what might come of it. How are you? I am thirsty.